Oh, I love when my screen jumps and everything is not where it's supposed to be. Here we go.
Mhm.
And welcome to another exciting episode of The Energy That Surrounds Us. I'm your host, Michael, and joining me tonight is a panel of such amazing guests that I could spend the entire show introducing them. So instead of doing that, I am going to turn it over to them to introduce themselves and let them share their stories because they are amazing in their own right in their field. And you may also know them by the amazing foundation they created. So, without further ado, I give you the Warren Legacy Foundation.
Hi.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, ladies first always.
Oh, go ahead, Lena. Yeah.
My name is Leila, and I am the. It's all good. I am the regional director for the Southern Region of the Warren Legacy Files. Hi, Nicole. How are you? Go ahead, Andrea. I'll let you go next.
I'm Andrea Brightbill. I just joined last year, and I'm happy to be here, and this is going to be fun.
Want me to go?
Mr. Franke?
Hey, folks. I'm Joe Franke, part of the Warren Legacy Foundation, chairman and CIO. I spent almost 40 years of my life with Ed and Lorraine Warren, learning from them, and Chris, my good friend, their grandson, and happy to be here. Looking to share some stories.
And I'm Chris McKinnell. I'm the director of the foundation. I co-founded it with my grandmother, Lorraine Warren. And we help people all around the world for free, confidentially, and with some of the best people you will ever meet, including these three wonderful people here.
I truly think it's amazing what you guys do and how you're keeping their memories alive. That is such a wonderful tribute to them.
Well, they deserve it. And after that first movie came out, my grandmother and I sat down and we were getting requests from everywhere. And I said to my grandmother, you know, Graham, nobody's ever heard of New England and places like Mongolia or Japan, you know, but they've heard of the Warrens. I want to keep your name alive. I want to keep the work alive. And I had already been in the Peace Corps. I'd worked with volunteers all over. And I had the experience necessary. My grandmother loved the idea, and that's how we got started.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, each of you have your own interesting backgrounds. And Leila, can you share your background and where you are? Because you guys are all over the country.
Yes, yeah. So I am here in Texas. I am just north of Dallas. with Michael. We just figured out how close we are to each other. Like, I didn't know that we were that close, but that's pretty cool. I got interested in the paranormal since I was a child. I had some experiences that I couldn't really explain, but I didn't really get into it when I was younger because my family's Catholic and they kind of shied away from that. We didn't talk about it. It wasn't until I was older and I started talking with my brother that we both had the same experiences, and I was just always interested in it. I've been with the Warren Legacy Foundation, I think about 3 years now. I can't believe it's been that long. At least 3 years. Before that, I did just investigative research. I was a tour guide also at, many of you may know, the old Goatman's Bridge in Denton, Texas. I did that for a couple of years as well.
Yes, that's one of my favorite spots to go just hang out.
It's a cool spot to go. It's a really neat spot. Not right now, though. There's a bunch of snakes, copperheads everywhere.
Oh, thank you for that warning, because I've never come across a snake there, so I would have been like, wait, what?
Oh, if you go, especially right now in this heat, you're going to see them worse. I saw them a time or two in the fall, but yeah, don't go right now. It's not a good time.
Cool. And then there was Andrea.
Hi. Yeah, like I said, I'm a recent member. I just joined last year, and I have to tell you, I was pretty impressed with their recruiting process. If you are interested in joining the foundation, we are still looking for qualified individuals that can join in, and we'll probably send out a website after this if you're interested. But it was a fairly good interview. I had first started an interview with Chris, and at the time, weren't you in Columbia, Chris, at the time when I talked to you?
Probably, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Where are you?
So
I don't even know where you are.
Oh, I'm in Mississippi. So, and I just moved from Oklahoma to Mississippi just this last year. So I've had a lot of transition in my life in the last year, which is great. I love it here. It's awesome. I love the weather. But anyway, so I had to go through another interview with another medium to give her a reading. So, and that turned out better than I expected. So I'm happy to be able to just use my gifts to assist people on understanding the paranormal, because I grew up with it. I have always had it. I have always seen faces in the dark. I have always seen things in the aspect of what it was. Like if I walk into an old building and they've done renovations, I can tell you where the doors were or what the ceiling had on it, what the chandelier was that was hanging there before, because I see things as they were. I see recorded space. I guess they call that the stone tape theory. Yeah. So I'll sometimes it plays out like a video in my head, and I can describe the whole entire scene like a party or something. So that's kind of freaked me out a little bit, but you know, it's something I can lend to the foundation when you're doing investigations, and we do most of them by Zoom, surprisingly. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty interesting.
COVID,
love it.
That started that all.
Yeah,
I just love being utilized. Yeah, it's a big world.
Yeah.
We got to travel a lot of places, but we try to keep it down to a minimum because it's expensive.
Yeah.
But it's great to be able to help educate people on removing the fear, because fear comes from lack of experience and lack of knowledge. So if you can fill them with the knowledge of how they can empower themselves, that's where we fit in.
And Zoom helps us reach people that we wouldn't be able to reach if there's no member nearby. You know, we're still able to, and we don't have everyone. Like I have the Southern region, but that doesn't mean we have a case and it's just going to be my people. You know, if I have someone from Joe's region or any other region that we have, I can reach out to them and know that, you know, they have an expertise. They can help us with that case. So it's amazing to be able to use that.
Yeah, we don't have silos in the foundation.
Yeah. And Leila and I have worked together on many cases over the last year, and she's amazing. She's very intuitive on these things. She picks up just a lot of things that a lot of us miss because we're filtering and she's watching. So it's very easy to work together, and we collaborate on things. It's an amazing team, and everybody's very supportive of each other. I love that.
So, Andrea, being a medium, I get a couple of questions a lot asked of me about mediumship, and I'm such a novice at it. I really don't know how to answer. Maybe you can. The first one, and I'm sure you get asked these all the time, is how do you build up your ability and strengthen it? And the other question is, how do you turn it off?
Oh, those are very good questions. There's a lot that goes into learning how to control it. Because when I got out of the military and I decided to turn it back on, because you have to kind of suppress it when you're in the military. I'm retired Air Force. I couldn't talk about that stuff because it's like, okay, put her in a straitjacket. She's going to go somewhere. But after I got out, I started to learn about the things, all the things, the touch, the palm reading, the energy control, the grounding protection, aura, all the things they teach you about how you should shield yourself. Some people don't like to use the word protection. I like to use the word shielding, because you can put it up like a shield from a spaceship and bring it back down. And you can bring it down just enough to be able to read the environment without having to take it in. We have a lot of empaths that need to learn how to just feel it without taking it completely in, because that's when it really affects you. I had it affecting me so bad that I was getting in crowds and I would faint. Just going to the Walmart, if it was crowded, I would pass out. I had to learn how to control it. So I had to take a lot of classes. I took classes for about 4 years.
We also have
who needs help, we do have psychic support available.
That's true.
It's a free place on Facebook. It's very supportive. You're not going to be able to get readings there or anything like that, but it's a place where, and by the way, if you want to learn how to enhance your abilities, first learn to shield or protect yourself. That's first. Then learn how to suppress it. And the simplest ways to suppress, get a black stone like obsidian or onyx or tourmaline, combine it with clear quartz, that'll ground your abilities. Also, go outside and psychically ground yourself on bare earth. So there are ways to protect yourself, and then you can start working on opening yourself up as well. But make sure you know that you're telling spirit, this is when the session is starting. When I say it's finished, it's finished. You may not follow me. I'm here to help you now, not later.
Boundaries.
True,
exactly.
You do. You have to set those boundaries.
Boundaries.
And because I didn't have that under control, I had 4 attachments so far since starting all of this, and some of them were not pretty. I had to get help to get them removed. So it happens. It's part of it. It's part of the job, but you get better at knowing when it's too much and when to step out, and how to shield better and how to ground yourself. It's a lot of daily maintenance. It really is. And Chris knows. He understands. He's been there in that position too.
Yeah.
All right. And Nicole is chiming in with, she says, I love the remote viewing exercises. We do 2 in the psychic groups. And she also says, my ears starts to ring whenever I'm in places like Walmart.
Yes. Ears ringing are a good indication that a higher level guide, I would say, or angels, however you want to apply it, is trying to give you a message.
Well,
and depends on.
I've got one for you.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
I was sitting at my grandmother's bedside when she passed, and I was just me and her for the whole day. I knew she was going. The room was filled with spirits. But the moment she went, all I said was, Graham, are you okay? My right ear, high-pitched whine, like, okay, Graham, okay, just want to make sure you're okay. And then my mom told me, do not tell anybody until we make a public announcement tomorrow. So I went upstairs, and I immediately got on the phone to call my best friend to tell him. And again, okay, Grandma, wait till tomorrow. So she's a higher rating for me.
That's our way of saying pay attention. You got to pay attention right now. And I've had moments where I just immediately stop what I'm doing and go do exactly what they're telling me to do, because it's important. You got to listen to what they're saying and understand they're out for your best interest.
Yeah.
But you got to give them permission too. You got to give them permission to do that. Otherwise, they can't involve themselves in your free will.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend that if you don't know what you're doing, please don't do that. Spirit communication is not for laymen. It's something you have to learn properly so you don't get hurt.
You have to set boundaries. You have to know how to talk to them. You have to know what you can give them permission to do and what not to. And who. I always say, if you are of the light, then you have permission. But if you're not of the light, you are not allowed in this space. In
other words, if you have negative energy, please don't bring it to the spirit communication, because you're not going to attract the right thing.
Exactly.
And then you'll be reaching out to us. You'll be reaching out to us for help.
Right. You'll be like, what happened? And we do get that, don't we, Leila?
We do. We get that a lot.
We do.
Yeah.
Some people that just don't know the rules, and they're dabbling a little bit, and you're like, why did you do that?
That's one of the biggest problems today in the paranormal community, is that a lot of folks out there don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to protect themselves. I say, well, if you don't know how to protect yourself or shield yourself, how are you going to be able to help a family or protect someone else? You know, everybody wants us to be a star. Everybody wants to be famous on YouTube or whatever. And it's crazy. It drives me nuts. You know, I'll try not to get off on a tangent, but it drives me crazy because there are so many people out there that need help. And we're not the only folks that can help. There's a lot of very gifted people that can do this. You know, I've been doing it almost 40 years myself. Chris is probably doing closer to 50 years. But, you know, we know what we're doing, and we like to think we do. And if we don't, we have each other to bounce off ideas, you know. We learn from one another. This is a constantly learning and evolving, perpetually evolving field. But, you know, you kind of get lost in all the noise of social media, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. And it's sad. And we, as a foundation, want to just get the message out there is that, look, we understand what you may be going through. A lot of people may or may not have a paranormal affliction. It may be something else. It may be psychological, you know, maybe something generational. You know, we don't know. That's why we ask a lot of questions. But the people that don't really know what they're doing, the thrill seekers, the urban explorers, they know who they are. You know, don't misrepresent yourself to get into somebody's private home, to do an investigation and show up with the Scooby-Doo mobile full of equipment. It's not necessary. You know, and if you really are in over your head, or you really do get a true case, or you think, I'm out of my league here, don't have such an ego that you can't admit that to yourself and ask for help. You know, we get calls all the time. I know I do, from other groups that said, you know, Joe, we went into this house and something happened and we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. You know, and then we say, okay, we'll work along with you to help this family or help this person.
And a big red flag, if you're seeking help, if you reach out to any medium or anyone that they ask for money of any kind, red flag. We never do that. It's not our thing. We're purely volunteer. We're here just to help people. And we have found some of our cases get worse because of the people that reach out to like that. I mean, we've had someone here in Texas that they were told that is spider demon, and it just ratchets it up the fear. The family's scared and they don't know what to do, and they're just in an absolute panic. Yeah, and it's just ridiculous. It's unethical.
Well, yeah, because then you have to try to talk these people back off the ledge.
Yeah.
Some people.
Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Chris, did you freeze up? There you go.
Chris was talking.
Say it again,
Chris
Chris.
froze up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
We can hear you now.
He froze up again.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Am I here?
Yep. There you go.
Okay, go ahead, Joe. I have no idea what I was going to say now. I've completely lost my train of thought.
Oh, well, no, I just wanted to reiterate what Leila was saying. You told me about that case where, you know, people go in there and they're like, you have the portal to hell here, or you have 3 demons in your house. I just had that happen with an old case of mine where someone gave my clients a reading over the phone, and they don't even live in this country. And they're like, oh, I fear for you guys. You have 3 demons in your house. And I'm like, oh, my God.
But for the price, we can help you get rid of them.
Well, it's just, you know.
No, this one was not for money. They were just well-meaning, but incorrect.
Didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the thing is, now,
that is what I was going to bring up, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mm.
You can talk.
Well, I was just going to say, we had a case in the Georgia area. I think she might have been in South Carolina. And some team came in, said, "Oh my God, you got a demon. We can't help you." Left. This poor woman's terrified.
Yeah.
So she starts going to Georgia and paying $600 a month for deliverance services.
Oh, God.
And I just needed to share that because of what Leila was saying. If you get anybody asking you for money, just walk away, please, because we have got so many horror stories. There was one poor guy in England who was paying some spiritual people in Afghanistan to get rid of the demons in his crotch. He had physical ailment, and they were still sending more things to hurt him. They would make him feel good for a day, and then they'd attack him again. So they would keep paying, or he would keep paying them. So it's a racket. Don't ever pay anybody for that. That's us. We do it free.
You're making me think. I got to tell you this story. Some years ago, 10, 15 years ago, friends of mine through mutual friends had a restaurant/bar in the next town over from where I live, so they were very close. And I had no idea this stuff was going on until I get a call from this woman. She's like, "Joe, my friend said you're in this work." I said, "Well, what's going on?" And they had a lot of stuff going on in this bar, and they've got video footage of things going after hours, glasses flying all over the place, liquor bottles, and the cash register, which was very heavy, like 50 pounds, flipped over. So they brought in, before I got involved, they brought in this team. Let's call them ABC Paranormal, and this team had a resident medium, for lack of a better term. And long story short, the medium charged almost, from what they told me, about $15,000. Okay, over a period of time. I don't know if it was a year or whatever. But she said, she spent about $15,000, and of course she didn't help her, and when she called this person up and said, "Look, there's something still here," the woman's like, "Oh no, I got rid of it. You must have did something to bring it back."
Yep.
And meanwhile, she's out. She told me $15,000, which I thought was very crazy. But but you're right. We obviously, as a foundation, we need to survive. We survive on the gracious of donations of others. If people
I've never gotten a donation in my life.
Yeah, well, I know, but we would accept donations for our work, and all that goes back into the foundation's kitty, and that money is used. Those funds are used for the foundation's expenses. Even travel.
If we ever get any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're working on it, but we would never. And I could tell you, I could tell you, if my wife was sitting here, she would tell you. In the 40 years I've been doing this work, I don't know how much money I've spent out of my own pocket to help other people, because most people that need this kind of help don't have the means to even pay your expenses. Like 2 summers ago, I spent 5 days in Albany, New York, which is about a 3.5-hour drive from where I live. I live in Connecticut. And we spent 5 days and 6 days and 5 nights helping this family, and we're very successful. And what I tell people is, you may put out a lot of yourself, monetarily, physically, emotionally, spiritually. What you get back is immeasurable. Mm-hmm. Just to see the relief on someone's face, or I've talked to people and said, "Joe, I don't know what you guys did, but it's gone. I haven't been able to sleep like this in months. I'm at peace." Maybe we did some good work. Maybe it was just psychosomatic. Maybe they just watched too much television. I said, don't watch
the thing about psychosomatic that we should mention, though. It's a great indication of how incredibly powerful the mind is. Whether you're a psychic, or you're a person with faith, or a person who believes simply that this drug is going to save you, or this ritual is going to save you, your mind can do that. As a matter of fact, in my travels around the world, because I'm in South America right now, in Paraguay, what I have seen is it doesn't matter what ritual you use or what religious beliefs you have. You're using that ritual to focus your intentions, to connect to something greater than you, to help. And that works every time, regardless of what your spiritual path is. To me, that shows a lot about us, about our power, what we can accomplish when we give up fear. To me, what the paranormal has taught me is how amazing we are and how blessed we are. It's just a matter of understanding that and letting go of the fear.
Exactly. And that's what Andrea was talking about empowering our clients. That's what we're about. We're about giving them that back, because we can come in, like Chris said, we can go into their houses, but at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones there alone. We're not going to always be there. So our goal is to teach them and give them the tools they need to be able to have the faith and encouragement in themselves to be able to handle it without us there. But we help them every step of the way.
They have to do the work. I've had, how many people have called you or emailed you and said, I need you to send a team over here and get rid of this. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. First of all, let's see if you have something that needs getting rid of. I said, but I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it. This is your home. This is your family. Okay. Chris touched on fear, and I don't want to steal your thunder here, but Chris's grandfather, Ed, would always say, you need to face your fears. You know, and when you're at your most scared point, you know, that's when you got to dig your heels in and say, this is my home. This is my family. And I'm going to take it back. And what we do is we have your six, we'll guide you, we'll give you support, but you need to do it. I'm not going to show up with a proton pack on my back. This isn't Hollywood. I said, but you need to have that faith. I've always said faith and fear cannot coexist. If you have faith, okay, there's nothing to fear. There's nothing. What do you have to fear if you have your faith? That's the weapon. It's not the little metal crucifix around your neck. It's what the faith in what that stands for and the protection that provides. That's the weapon. And if you've got that faith, you've got nothing to fear. That's what I tell people when I lecture all over the country. And I say, look, you know, just face those fears, you know, and, you know, if you don't know how, there are people that can help you, people like us that can help you, but we're not going to come and, you know, stick this thing in an ecto chamber and leave and say, okay, fine.
But we may show up at your door and help. Don't get us wrong. I mean, we will fight with you. We will be right next to you. We will be there. But I have believed for quite a long time now that the reason that these negative things happen to people at their lowest point, I believe.
Who's
got the pig? Who's got the pig?
That's my dog. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought it was a demon.
I joked about this happened during a case that we had once. And we were all like, is anyone hearing the growling? We can hear a growl. And it was the dog.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Debunk.
No, that was perfect because we were talking about that backstage.
We were.
Yeah. But let's touch back on that fear thing. That's the first thing I learned about fear is that if you're going to go into an investigation or if you're going to walk across that threshold, the first thing you need to do is fill your heart with love. And it's a biggest protection that you can give yourself and have sympathy as you enter instead of fear, because you are what you attract. People say that, but it's true. That you have a better idea of what you're walking into if you go in with love first, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it does. And one of the things that I found interesting is, you know, we get, you know, information that resonates to us from different sources. And I watch sci-fi a lot. And so I saw the original Dune movie. And one of the biggest things that they were doing when they were testing someone is he would say, fear is the mind killer. I cannot fear. Fear is the mind killer. And she was like, I can't believe you lasted that long. And he's like, and it's like you sit there and you realize, yeah, you know, all the times in our lives we thought we were, you know, not going to make it or anything. We were fine. It was the fear that was making us think this is the end. But when you stop the fear and go, okay, take a breath, let's reassess, what can we do? And you're like, oh, we can survive, we can thrive. And
exactly.
that is one of the moments that really struck me, and it's like I carry that in investigations when I go on them, is to say, you know, when I enter a place, I can't be afraid. Fear is the mind killer. I can't let it control me. So am I going to totally eliminate fear? No, I'm not saying that, because some fear is good. Like fear of putting your hand on a hot stove on is obviously a good fear, but
that's a cause and effect. That's
right.
different. The fear is fear of something that's unknown. That's why you fear it. It's because you're not familiar with it.
Right.
So
And
it's educate yourself, and it removes the fear. Read books, study physics. Physics has a lot to do with it. A lot to do with the way
and psychology, please.
And psychology, yes, absolutely. Because we have to understand our own mindset when we're stepping into a location like that.
And
so right.
I'm sure you guys
and also
have
some humility. I'm sorry, but have some humility. You don't have the answers all the time. I don't have the. I've done this longer than anybody here, and I promise you, I learned from the best, and I still don't know a lot. And anybody who comes in thinking they're a know-it-all and knows everything, they're idiots.
You don't.
And I'm not. We've crashed on a lot of people here. There are a lot of good ethical teams out there, and if you need help, please look at their social media first. Make sure that they're not exposing former clients to the public. Make sure that they're not in there only for that 5-second video of the coffee cup flying against the wall. You want people who are there to help. That's what you look for. You look for ethics. You look for people who've got God in their hearts.
Right. Now I was going to say, you guys probably, when you're investigating, come across what I deem my number one pet peeve whenever I go to location is the second a heavy energy or a low vibrational energy comes in, everybody yells out, "Oh my God, there's a demon here." And I'm like, stop saying demon.
Yeah. That's not in our vocabulary, and we
have a
don't
rule.
say it
We don't
anyway.
use that word.
Don't use it.
Just ratchets it up fear. Yep.
Well, people use it, and they use it in their thumbnails all the time because that's what puts them to the top of the algorithm.
Yeah.
Demons. Don't get me started on those negative energies. It could be anything, and it could be nothing. But the teams out there, they say that because they want likes, they want views, because they can monetize that. I don't have a YouTube channel myself. I'm not into that. And for those, my name probably isn't as well known as some other people, but I don't care. That's what I mean. Like Chris said, humility. I've always said, stay kind. Be kind, be gentle, and stay humble. Okay. Unfortunately, people like us seem to be overshadowed, and we're lost in we're the flower in the sea of weeds, and people just have to search to find that flower, someone that can really help you, or really help you understand what you may or may not be experiencing. That's why we have a ton of questions that we ask when we do client interviews, and one question, whatever the answer, based on the answer that's given, may lead to 10 more questions. But we do have a core set of questions. I don't know if there's a dozen or 20 of them.
There's questions. 4 pages.
4 pages. Okay. So we have a core set of questions that we ask, and I tell people right from the get-go, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and some of them could be very personal in nature, but I'm not asking these to embarrass you. I'm asking because I need to know. Things like, have you taken any drugs or alcohol, or do you have a substance abuse problem, or has there been any black magic or Ouija boards or any kind of divination used in the home or in your family? Questions like that, because then that'll show you what direction to take the next question. Are you taking any drugs that may have hallucinogenic effects? Leila, we just talked about a case the other day, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Client gave us a list of the medications or drugs they're taking, and can cause hallucinations. So you may not have what we call paranormal problem. You may just have a problem that is beyond our scope, but we may be able to direct you to the help that you need. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, but I can usually tell the difference between a paranormal issue and a possible psychological issue.
But we never give medical advice. We never give psychological diagnoses. Half our job is figuring out what we're dealing with, but we also will refer you to others as we feel maybe it's necessary. We don't know if it's necessary. That's why we ask. We will not make medical diagnoses. But I guess the thing that I want to talk about a little bit is the fact that, as we've said again and again, the fear is the real problem. The lack of knowledge is the real problem. You hear these footsteps at night, and maybe you hear a knock on your bedroom door. People who don't know what they're dealing with immediately are thinking, oh my God, it's the devil. Yeah. But it's probably the old man that lived in the house before you. And he's just saying, hey, I'm here. What are you doing in there, huh? Or maybe it's your
my house. Yeah.
Yeah. It's harmless. Please judge your circumstances in your home, not by your fear, but by the actual outcome. And keep these things in mind. Let's say you do get that coffee cup flying across the room and smashing and breaking. Keep in mind that human spirits don't have fine motor control. And if they've gotten up enough energy that they can actually move a coffee cup, it's going to be an explosive act. It's not going to be a controlled act. And let's say grandma's photo falls off of the wall. Maybe that's just grandma saying, hey, I'm here, pay attention. And when your keys go missing for 4 hours and then they're right on the table where you've just looked the last 50 times, again, that's just your spirit letting you know, hey, we're here. It's harmless. Don't jump to conclusions, please. Let us help you. Contact somebody who can help you with that. And to understand what that is. Often, especially if it's a human spirit, it's just a matter of communicating with the spirit and helping to find out what's going on with them. Why are they having a problem? Why are they still here? And then seeing if we can't mediate and make things a little better or maybe help them pass over. We treat the dead exactly the same way we treat the living. They are souls. They deserve help as well.
And respect.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I like that.
We do not go in screaming at them. No, none of that crap.
And remember, even if you get a spirit that's darker spirit, you don't immediately go to, like we said, demon, any of that. Just like there's grumpy, hateful, rude, evil people in the world, when they pass over, that's how they're going to be. So when they communicate with you, they're going to be more aggressive. They're going to be more that. Doesn't mean it's an evil spirit. It just means it's a human that was just that way in life. They're not going to cross over and turn into sunshine and flowers and tap you on the shoulder, say, hey, how are you?
I call that taking the nuclear option.
Yeah.
And if I
People
could
immediately go from 0 to...
Exactly.
Sorry.
It's okay, Chris, go.
No, I was just going to, if you're doing paranormal tourism, anyone, please don't go to asylums or prisons. Please. Because the only souls that are going to be stuck there are pretty troubled souls. And if you happen to be the person that they attach to, you're going to be going home with a visitor. It's not a good place to be visiting. I don't care if everybody wants to go to Waverly or wherever they go. It's not smart. Please don't.
I agree. And to piggyback on what you were saying earlier, Chris, about how they're trying to get your attention, I had an investigator point out to me, when people get those light scratch marks and they go, oh, I was attacked. And she goes, let me show you an experiment. Grab this person's arm. Now yank your arm. What happened? They left 3 scratch marks. And they said, could it be the spirit was just trying to say, hey, I'm here, but their energy came across and ended up scratching you by mistake? And it was like, oh my gosh. It was like, yeah, we gotta stop thinking the worst when stuff happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's no fun though. That doesn't make money. That
Exactly.
doesn't get likes.
Then get the headlines.
That's why most of the stuff out there is BS. And, we don't subscribe to any of that, but it makes our jobs harder that when those people finally do get to us, again, like I always say, we have to talk them back off the ledge and say, well, ABC Paranormal told me I had a portal to hell here. And then you got to try to say you don't. Yeah. But let's try to find out together what you do have here. Why would they tell me that? Well, because they don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
They had to say something.
And that's the thing. Joe earlier said, that they think it's sexy to call it a demon and everything. The truth is, everybody's learning from these stupid YouTube and TikTok and Instagram videos and the paranormal shows on television.
That's their education now.
Absolutely crap. That is not how you learn anything. That's like watching ER and thinking you can operate.
I know. I'm like, I do.
Better cancel my.
I know. Dang, I had a surgery scheduled for tomorrow.
But you're right. That's the only education that most of these people could claim.
Yeah.
Where did you get your education? We had the opportunity to learn from the best. I feel. I spent a lot of time with Ed and Lorraine Warren. I met them when I was 18 years old, which was quite a long time ago.
Hey, I got your beat.
Yeah, I know. I spent a lot of time with them, and I tell you, it was probably a couple of years before Ed let me go on a case by myself or with other researchers without him, because I had to learn. I remember, Chris, the case of the Snedeker family haunting. That was one of your cases. That house is literally 15 minutes from where I live right now. And I remember it started in 1986 when I met the Warrens. And I remember Ed saying to me, he says, "Kid," and he always called me Kid. He said, "Kid," he goes, "I got a case right up where you live, but you're not ready for it."
Well, no, that was 1989.
Wasn't it 86 to 88 they lived there? Those 2 years?
No. I graduated in 86. I was in the Peace Corps 87 to 89. It was 89.
I might be off on the dates. I'm old, but I just remember Ed saying that to me because I have a case right up where you live because I've lived here forever. And he said, "But you're not ready for it." Yeah, and he was right. I didn't know anything back then.
He sent my cousin in instead, who'd never been on a case in his life, and I had to train him.
But that's where your humble comes from. If you get a case, I've gotten a case, and I knew immediately. I was in over my head, and I reached out, Joe, Chris, "Hey, I need your help. Get on the case," and they jumped on happily. That's what I love being a part of this foundation. We have that we can do that.
Actually, that's the thing I'm most proud of is the relationships and how everyone works together. Everybody. I am so humbled to be with this group. They are the greatest people ever. All of them.
And we all come from different backgrounds, all different walks of life, different, poor, rich, whatever, different religious beliefs. I was Roman Catholic, trained in the Roman Catholic way, but I also respect those people that may believe differently. So we can respect one another's beliefs and get along and work together. Not, today what you see on TV, people are fighting in the paranormal community. It's a joke these days. Yeah. People are at each other's throats because everyone's jockeying for position to be noticed. And that's not what we're here for. I'm here for two reasons, really. And number one is to help people. And number two is to educate people. And by that, I mean, try to pass on the knowledge that I've learned from the decades I've done this. I don't know everything. I never will know everything. Nobody knows everything. Mm-hmm. But this team that we have, we learn from one another. And I don't care if you've been doing it for 50 years or 5 days. We all have something to contribute. We all have something to bring to the table and share with one another. That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
There's something I've been meaning to. I apologize again.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
There's something I've been meaning. I have problems with. I'm the original absent-minded professor, so I can't always remember what I want to say. So I apologize if it doesn't come out right all the time. Are you kidding me? Oh yeah, thank you. I was like, what was I going to say? No. I came to a realization recently. Joe was talking about how he was raised in the Roman Catholic faith, and that's the way he learned. And what I have found in my travels, and I've lived everywhere except Australia, working on that one next. Oh my goodness! Oh yes, what I've learned. No, here's what I've learned.
Keep the spiders there.
What?
I said, keep
Oh,
the
yeah,
spiders
yeah.
over there.
Australia.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to have a shotgun for the spiders.
Those are huge.
But here's the thing. You can learn to manipulate and work with the paranormal through a particular discipline or faith. And that's all about energy manipulation. Whether you want to be a Wiccan or you want to follow Odin or you want to be a Roman Catholic or un Umbandista or whatever your particular spiritual path is, all of them can be effective in manipulating energy. To me, that's quantum physics right there. But if you're going to study the paranormal, you got to get rid of those visors, that discipline that you're trying to use to manipulate
Tunnel
it.
vision.
You have to look at the entire picture.
Broaden your horizons. Yep.
It's important to educate ourselves on all different aspects of religious or cultural backgrounds and beliefs and customs, and traditions. Those can all fall into playing a role in a paranormal activity inside a house, whether it be an egregore, something that's created by the family because of conflicts, or it's something that comes from a youth that could be a poltergeist. They don't even know they're creating it. There's a lot. That's why we ask so many questions. That's why we include so many people with so many different backgrounds and education levels and experiences, because you have to have all of that combined in order to help the client. So ego doesn't play a place here. Better leave it at the door, because you have to work together in order to help people. That's the number one thing.
Right.
I always feel once ego enters the room, God's pushed out.
Yeah. I was taught by a metaphysical person, and it stuck with me when it came to the ego, is to go, look at ego, earth guide only. It only works here in this plane, this dimension. And I was like, well, even then it works like crap sometimes. But yeah, and then it's like you realize, yeah, you have to stop and think, wait a minute, is this really what I'm thinking? Or is this something that my ego has gone into self-preservation mode and is trying to keep itself in control, and now you've gone off the rails because it's... And so, yeah, I mean, you really got to watch where your ego is. And I have a pet peeve, too, of when I look at people in the field and they go, oh, I'm the expert of this or that because I've been doing this for so many years. I'm like, dude, the second you said expert, I tuned you out.
Same.
Not a mainstream science or religion or anything. So there is no way to be an expert.
Yeah.
No.
We're students. That's it.
Yeah, constantly.
Constantly, always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I've talked to a few people, and I was like, yeah. And like you were saying, you know, careful who you invite into your space. And I'll say to people, if someone says I'm an expert in this field, go the other way. There are no experts. And I was like, it's the easiest thing to remember.
Yeah.
If someone comes up to you and says, oh, I'm an expert in the paranormal, walk away.
Yeah.
Not engage, because that's impossible in my mind.
I mean, even if you have someone that says they're an exorcist or anything like that, check their credentials. There's so many. I proved a point, I think, last year where I joined, and I think within 2 hours I was a minister. And I got a certificate and everything. So I could technically go out and say that. So check and actually see where they went, what the kind of classes are, what the school is, whatever it is they're trying to tell you they are. Just make sure that they're really what they are presenting themselves as.
Yeah, and I actually got a reverend's license because I was doing Reiki work, and it was a 2.5 year study. And people will say, "Oh, you're a reverend, so you can do this or that." I'm like, technically, yes, but that's not why I got it. So no, I can't do that for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm very clear of, yes, it was done just to protect me doing energy work.
Yeah.
That was it. It was never meant to have a following or
Yeah.
the one who's gonna be like the way shower of saying this is the way. I'm like, no, that's not me. I'm like, I'm not a messiah or anything.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
But yeah, even then, it's like people will be like, well, but you have a weapons license. I'm like, yes, but it doesn't mean I'm skilled in all these religions. No, it was non-denominational and studied for this purpose. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people take demonology courses and then say they're a demonologist. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, you know what? They don't exist. I don't care what anybody says about demonologists. I don't care if you call yourself a demonologist and you're a friend of mine. The truth is, you don't know what a friggin' demon is. We can talk about the mythology of demons. We can talk about the history of where we think they came from. We can study all of that. But the minute you call yourself an expert on demons, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what a demon is, and I've been doing this forever. My grandfather called me a demonologist when I was 22. I gave up the title when I was 26 because I knew I didn't know. You can't study it through Christianity, for instance. Half of these things that we call demons are ancient Sumerian and Babylonian gods or Celtic gods that we literally demonize. So I have a real pet peeve with the title demonologist.
Right. And Andrea, I wanted to point out something that you had said about the ringing in the ears. That hit me because I will be like in water, just relaxing, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and it's always the right side, I will hear this tone, and then it'll stop. And I was talking with so I grew up in metaphysics, not in dogma or religion. And so one of my metaphysic guides that I was talking with said, yeah, that's just you getting a download from spirit. That's how they termed it. And so when you said, yeah, that's just spirits, trying to get your attention, I was like, it's amazing. It's the same terminology, meaning the same thing. Yeah. But if you're so focused on going, well, metaphysics is this, you're going to miss the communication aspect and think, no, that's not spirit communicating with me. And it's like,
yeah, the language is important too, because sometimes we have to convert our language in order to make a connection with a client. So when we're talking to them and they say they're spiritual but not religious, then we need to focus on how they can get to that understanding of how their faith in something needs to apply. So we need to find out what they will, buy into, I guess, or claim as being something they can affirm. That's the hard part, because some people are unsure about where they're guided to. They're not concrete about, I'm Christian, I'm Buddhist, I'm Catholic. So you have to talk to them, understand what their needs are, and how they can approach their own solution. Buy-in. You got to have buy-in for them to understand that that's how they have the power. So yes, but yeah, hearing, say you're saying, I hear ringing in my ears, or I get tingling on my arms, I get goosebumps. Some people say that's the sign of truth. It just depends on the receiver. So understanding human behavior is another part of it. We need to understand how that person thinks or hears us, how they are interpreting what we're saying. Are they getting offended by it? Body language is 90% of the conversation. So when we do Zoom calls, it's not just the conversation, that's the words that are coming out. It's everything around them and everything that they are doing with their bodies, or their facial expressions. It's understanding human behavior as well. I had a question once about joining a paranormal group here, and they said something to the effect of, do you believe in spirits or something like that, or do you trust spirit or something like that? I said, yeah, I trust spirit, but I don't trust humans, because humans can deceive. But I can understand from spirit, yes, spirits can deceive as well. They can have tricksters, but you can decipher that with the way you feel it. So we have a lot of interpretation on human behavior as well as not just the spiritual side or the what's happening in the house. That's evidence, but this is understanding how they're perceiving it. So there's a lot more to it than just looking at evidence on a video or something.
Right. And one of the things I like to say to people when they're like, well, how do I know what's what? Is I'll say, look at what resonates with you. And by resonate, I mean, if I was to say, hey, the sun is out, there's all these flowers, how do you feel? I feel good. Well, that's a great sign that, that's something, you should go towards. And then I'll say, well, what do you feel like when you see like a tornado going through? And they're like, oh, I feel scared and everything. I'm like, that's a good warning for the other way. So that's your resonating field. When you're feeling afraid, it's like someone's approaching you, you start feeling afraid, don't approach that person. There's nothing wrong. They could be the sweetest person in the world, but they're not going to resonate with you in that moment. Walk away. Go find...
Trust your intuition.
Yeah.
Listen to your intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
And Nicole is asking, well, she asked a little while ago, but we've been so enthralled in topics. She was saying, what if you hear instruments out of the blue? I heard a bell once. Long story, lots of laughs.
Okay. Bells and instruments, as far as paranormal goes, it depends on the situation. But some people say bells are associated with angels. And some say that instruments, or it's music, as angels singing. They're talking to you. When angels speak, they sing. That's what I was told. And I don't know how real that is. I haven't heard it myself. But bells can be an indication. Same thing as ringing in the ears. Chris, do you have a follow-up on that one?
Not really, except that I use a Tibetan bell if I have to do an exorcism or a prayer bowl, because those tones are very good for driving off spirit. So
yes, they are.
When it comes to hearing bells, I hadn't heard anything. So no, I don't have anything to offer them.
I think it could be personal too, though. It could be personal. Yeah. Like it could be something, a specific family member, you shared something with them, or, you went to church with them. It could be something personal. So you got to think of it that way too.
Yeah, you probably have to ask more questions. Yeah.
It could just be the doorbell.
It could just be the doorbell ringing, Joe. Thank you.
I had to be the asshole.
Or it could be an orb.
Yeah.
Joe loves orbs.
But actually, this brings up something from earlier, which we were talking about, how, heavy energy, and you think it's a negative entity, or, the high-pitched whine, whatever. But the truth is, we only have 5 physical senses, and our brain knows how to digest that information. It's well ground, it's in there. When it comes to psychic senses, each of us can be quite different in how we experience that's exact same energy. And so we have to learn to interpret it for ourselves.
Yes.
Right.
That's true.
I was going to say, it's all about how we perceive and process that information.
Yeah.
Exactly. And how
because everybody
rewire our
receives it
brains to
differently.
get that. Some people look at white noise on the TV. Other people look in a bowl of water for images, or they try automatic writing or pendulum or what have you. There's so many different tools you can use and so many different techniques of tapping into your abilities.
So that brings up a good point, because right there on our psychic support page, we always encourage everybody to try different methods, because one that may not suit you, it may not work for you, but if you try a different method or a different style or a different way of approaching it, some people can't meditate, but meditation is in many forms. It can be in art, it can be in music, it can be in gardening, it can be that form of meditation. So find what fits for you and work with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I agree, because one thing I've learned through, my short time really being in it, even though I was in it for a long time, I just never realized it because I wrote it off as metaphysical, not paranormal, and later learned it's the same thing. But what I was learning is what works for one may not work for another. And so what I don't like is when people are like, oh, you have to do this method to do this. And you're like, well, that doesn't work for me. Well, I don't know why it doesn't. I'm like,
It's just ignorant.
because I'm not you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or the
There's
intention
another thing
when
I
you
would
were doing it.
recommend. Sorry.
Yeah. Go.
I was just going to say, please don't label your abilities. That's only limiting you. Oh, I'm a psychometrist. What? You mean you haven't tried the other stuff yet? It's exactly what Andrea was saying. Don't limit yourself that way. I don't worry about, people ask me, oh, are you clairvoyant or whatever? I don't know. I just do what I need to do when I need to do it. I don't have a lot of faith in my abilities, but that's only because I know that if I say something, there are an awful lot of people that are going to believe it, and I could lead them astray. I take it very, very seriously, that responsibility. So I don't use my abilities very often that way. And nobody should. They should be very careful and never give unsolicited psychic advice to someone. Never. Even if a spirit is standing right next to you, begging you to talk to Dad, don't talk to Dad if Dad's not ready. He may not be ready for that message from his dearly departed. So please be ethical, be thinking of the living as well, not just the dead.
And I set up that boundary a long time ago with my guides. I said, I don't want to see anything right now because it was getting too overwhelming. I was seeing everything all the time, and it was that's why I was passing out. So I pretty much told them, I have to wait until I'm given permission. So I have to ask them, but I normally don't even ask. They're the ones who ask me. So I wait for them to come to me and they ask. So I say, well, you have to say it out loud. I give you permission. Then I can. Then everything shows up. And it's like, okay, well, that's cool. So I have a switch.
I want to
And why is giving permission so important? Because it all has to do with free will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spiritual boundaries, you set them up well.
Yeah.
That's one thing that God will not meddle in is free will, because he wants us to choose him.
Even your guardian angels. I happen to be, I give my guardian angel permission. I'm going to go do something I know that's a little bit crazy. You have full permission to intervene on my behalf. Just give me that little extra oomph right there.
Yes, you do. You do have to give them permission. That's true. Yeah.
Those balloon spiders that fly.
Yes. But I wanted to bring up too, though, how important the protection is that we were talking about. If you have abilities, don't just go out there. Because that is another percentage of our cases too. We have people that have abilities and they don't realize it, and they're not blocking and protecting themselves. So there's inviting anything in. Because the way we like to explain, if you have abilities, you're kind of like a beacon. So if you're in a row of houses and all the houses are dark, the house you're in is going to have a light on it, and the spirits are going to see it and they're like, ooh, bright light, and they're going to go towards you. So it not may necessarily be anything bad, but you're just attracting a lot of energy and you're not realizing it. So that's part of the issue. You got to learn to protect and block.
Yeah, you're becoming the Motel 6.
Yeah, exactly.
We get
open vacancy.
No, it's just we get a lot of psychics who think, oh my God, I've moved 20 times and the spirit keeps following me. It's like, no, you see, a psychic's aura is like a lighthouse. You're just blazing for. Joe loves lighthouses, he knows.
I got one on right behind me.
And the truth is, an ordinary person is like a candle. It flickers, but that lighthouse is beautiful. And if you're a lost soul looking to get unfinished business across, or you're confused and you're lost and you're looking for help from the person, you're going to go to that bright light. So you're not haunted. You just need to learn how to put down spiritual boundaries, and that's what we help with, among other things.
And I love how Andrea calls it Motel 6. I always said when people will go, do you have, you have a lot of people around you? I'm like, well, yeah, I have Times Square in my living room sometimes where spirits just keep coming and going. And somebody asked me one day, they go, do you ever do EVP work in your house where you just set a recorder and just listen? And I was like, no. And I recorded it, sent it to him, and he was like, there's like 4 or 5 main, but like 10 or more communicating going through there. And he's like, what is going on? I was like, well, I set the recorder by the spot where I call it Times Square. So I was just like, to me, it just validated, yeah, there's a lot of spirit traffic.
Yeah.
Do I engage it? No. And when I need a break, I'm like, hey, guys, we're shutting down for maintenance. We'll let you know when it's back open.
But that's you setting your boundaries.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something important there that I had wanted to say earlier. Please, no one ever conduct investigations in your own home, because you're opening up yourself and your home to that spirit, and then you're there. It's not like you can go away now. So that's a real bad idea.
Right. Well, to preface, when I set it up, I put guardian. I call them guardians, and I was like, okay, guardians, we're only allowing this energy level and up to come through and communicate. And when I was done with it, I said, okay, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for helping maintain the boundary. You are now free to go, and this little portal area that was created for this experiment is closed. And I closed it, and I was like, I could feel it was closed, and then I was like, okay, good.
Yeah, I had that happen once, actually. It was, but we were testing equipment, and it was in my house, but it was just testing equipment. We had new microphones for our recorders, so we wanted to make sure the microphones worked from all the way across the room. So I got a REM pod, and I put it in the middle of my living room, and I wasn't expecting anything. I was just going to go up and touch it to see if it recorded across the room. So, sensitivity on the microphone kind of thing. And it just started going off. And the REM pod did. All lights, everything. And I'm like, what? Did I just set it next to an electrical outlet? It's in the center of the living room. There's no electrical outlets. It's going crazy. And I said, okay, so if anybody's here, because you're obviously trying to get my attention, stop the lights. And it stopped just like that instantly. I said, okay, thank you. And right across, you have those devices, the Echoes, the Alexas. It went, you're welcome. That's what I do. And I went, what? I didn't say its name. It talked on its own. And I went, oh my gosh, that's somebody's here. And I picked up that it was a man, and that's all I could pick up because I was just kind of freaking out. This is my house. This is my sanctum, And
you're like, get out.
Okay, thank you. You can go now.
Or take the trash out.
Yeah, exactly. Go sweep, go do something.
The next morning, that's when I received the phone call that one of my good friends had passed away from a heart attack the night before.
That was your
son. And that's what he used to say was, you're welcome. Yeah. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, it was him.
Yep.
So it happens. I unintentionally didn't mean to do it that way. It just happened. But how weird that we were testing our equipment at the time.
Yeah.
We had a case where there was a woman, she was investigating her own home. And I don't know which area of the country it was in, but someone sent me tapes of her doing this, and she was doing it a lot. And then I hear this little voice. I said, whose voice is that? I said, that's her little 5-year-old daughter. So her daughter's following her around the house as she's doing this. And I said, please tell her to stop immediately. And she's basically of her own free will giving whatever permission by saying, would you like to communicate with me? Now you're trying to establish a relationship with the unknown.
Yeah, and exactly. You don't know
Is
if
it
it's good or
grandma's
bad
ghost,
that's out there, right?
or is it something more sinister? You don't know.
Yeah.
But you're opening the front door and saying, "Come on in." But what
Yeah.
are you letting in? You just don't know.
And as my grandmother would say, like attracts like.
Mhm.
If you're putting out negative energy, you're not going to attract something of the light.
That's true.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
another good point too. When you're investigating, you have to know as an investigator if you're not in the right headspace. You know, we all go through stuff in life. You need to know to step down, and you're not in the right place. You need to be doing what you got to
Even
do.
us, we need to be in a state of grace, as we call it. We need to be go to confession, be in absolution. I mean, I've got some ailments. I can't just get up off my chair and go investigate somewhere because I'm not well right now, and I'm smart enough to know that. Or if I'm not, Chris yells at me. So,
Hey, now wait a minute. Let's be fair. Last year, I had to take a few months off as well.
yeah, I know. So we have to be smart about it. We can still help from the background maybe and help our team members. But we got to know when to say, look, I'm not doing well. I've got a heart issue or a liver issue or whatever.
Or even if you're not mentally in the right space.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah,
you
got to be in the higher.
Because it takes some preparation. Because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. I'm not afraid of it, but I need to respect it. Because I don't know what I'm getting into. Am I getting into nothing, or am I going in through the gates of hell here? And facing Lucifer himself.
And at the end of the day, our focus is always on our clients. It's not on us. They come first. So if we're not in the right place, we can't do it. We have to bring it to the rest of the foundation to take over.
Yeah.
Right.
And surprisingly enough, you would think that we wouldn't be affected because we're doing it by Zoom. Not true.
No, God.
Oh, no,
we can get affected. It comes right across.
They don't know any time or space or distance.
Nope.
No.
Well, then, and you got to think of it in this way: of they're an energy, we're an energy. Talking on screen to one another, it's an energy. So all they got to do is just ride that energy wave, and they're automatically over.
Yeah.
And so it's like, they're
here at the speed of thought.
Yeah.
They're not part of our dimension.
Yeah.
So they're not limited at all by that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
that
and
quantum
we can't comprehend
entanglement.
that. As human beings, we can't comprehend that because we never experienced that level.
Well, look at it this way. It's like the Flatland experiment. But if you take a tabletop, if you're like God, you're not part of the table. You can put your finger down anywhere on that table at any point in time and space. You're there.
The table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spirits are kind of the same way. They're outside of time and space.
Yep.
Although most human spirits are either attached to a place or attached to a person. There's still an attachment there, even if it's to their old life. So you're not going to see them wandering through time and space and Alpha Centauri and things like that, probably.
Yeah, they're not a doctor.
Yeah, not that I have any direct evidence to say they haven't.
And
but
they're usually not hanging around where their body is buried. So
no.
Exactly.
Be honest, if you want to hang around with your moldering corpse,
Yeah.
I don't want to hang around myself now.
Like I have to
we do. We think you're lovely.
We love Joe. We love Joe.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But Nicole brings up something that I think as investigators we all have experienced in our own ways. Is she says, I like the light up cat balls. And to me, that was an experience that I seen, and I always was like, no. But then when I seen it do stuff that I was like, I couldn't explain, I was like, I gotta rethink this. Have you guys come across equipment on your own that you were like, when you first saw it, were like, no way this is gonna work, no way this is anything, and then you've seen something with it and you're like, you know what? I gotta pause.
I mean, you gotta have an open mind. I mean, obviously these things could probably manipulate anything, but just because you see a cat ball laying on the bed going off, to me doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I said, if there's something with some degree of intelligence, it will be able to communicate. It doesn't need a cat ball.
Or you can use it in conjuncture with other stuff to validate. You know what I mean?
I don't mean to poo-poo it because people get mad at me all the time. Don't talk about cat balls in front of Joe. But, cat balls they're toys. I don't. The best piece of equipment that I have in my arsenal, it's a Sony magnetic tape recorder I've had for 35 years. I've got more evidence, more voice phenomena off of that piece of equipment than anything else. And I have digital recorders as well, but I mean, I guess I'm old school. I mean, we didn't have this kind of equipment back when we started, Chris, right? What did we have?
No.
We had,
I had a cassette recorder that my
Polaroids.
grandfather gave me.
Anybody know if you remember what Polaroid cameras are? We had, old tape recorders and magnetic tape recorders, and then the onset of digital came through. I remember when I got my first digital camera, it was 1 megapixel, and everybody thought this is awesome because you have instant gratification. Oh, I got a ghost from the cemetery on my picture. How much money have we spent with 35 millimeter film for sending it through processing and cost you a fortune, and then you got nothing. You're disappointed.
Yeah.
And even if you did get something, well, what is it? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you this is a spirit because that'd be pretty irresponsible. I don't know. But what is it? Have an open mind about it,
Yeah.
Hey,
But,
speaking of
I
which,
guess-
by the way, the digital cameras,
Yeah.
stop zooming in on everything, folks, when you're looking for ghosts and stuff. Once you do that pixelated crap, it's going to make it look like whatever you want it to look like.
And don't send a picture and circle it. If there's something
Pareidolia.
there, we don't need to circle.
I never see it anyway.
Like, I don't know. There's a little
I
girl.
mean, there's a lot
I
of
don't like
techie
to
people
use
that
it.
like this stuff, but
I don't like to use any
cool.
of it. This is my best tool right here.
this is your best tool.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yep.
Yep.
This is all I normally use. This is my iPad.
Yep.
That's what
Yep.
gets me into trouble.
It's the sensory. It's the
That in your
gut
mouth,
feeling,
Joe.
It's
No,
the
you just
third eye
have to use
vision.
it. That's all.
Yeah. I find that when there's tons of equipment out, I turn this off and start watching the equipment, and I forget to tune in, and I don't want the equipment. I do better without it.
But Michael, like you said too, you know your intuition. If you feel something bad over there, that's not. There was nothing. There was no equipment telling you that. Just your
Trust your
intuition.
gut.
Yeah.
Go with
There's
it.
only two pieces of equipment that I think are worthwhile, and I don't use either. And that's the Estes method, because I think it takes some of the human element out of things, which I love tremendously. And the other one is a simple EMF meter, because the reality is high EMF readings can screw your brain up. And if you've got that right next to your bed, all you have to do is move the bed across the room, and all of a sudden your paranormal problems are gone. So it's useful for that.
Yeah, I have an old Gauss meter. I think it's a Texas Instruments. It's probably 30-something years old, but I have it somewhere around here. But even still, if you get a high EMF reading, what does that mean? I mean, look at where we live. We live on the Earth, which is just one big magnet anyway. I mean, it's the magnetic field of the Earth that protects us from the sun's radiation. So, but people, you have to do a scientific controlled experiment. Okay, I tell people, if you're going to want to use these tools, or toys as I call them, ask the homeowner or the business owner, wherever you may be, hey, can we turn the power off? Can you pull the main? You don't do it, let them do it. So just for 15, 20 minutes to give us time to walk around, maybe do a baseline reading. I said, because you don't know if you have unshielded wiring, or you've got, I had a case where I had a bad microwave, and you put the meter by the microwave and the thing would go crazy, and you walk away about 10 feet and it'd be zero. So, but these days it's like, oh my God, look at the meter's going off. It's been quiet for 2 hours. And I'm like, well, that doesn't mean that Satan's standing over there. It doesn't mean that. I mean, but that's what makes for good TV, and it makes for likes and views. And now when people monetize this, and look, it's not illegal. I just think it's immoral in some cases, where people try to pass this off as real investigating, and that's what frustrates me and a lot of my colleagues, because look, even though we don't know everything and don't have all the answers, nobody does and nobody will until maybe we pass on. But be smart about it. Don't pass this off as fact. Okay, my cat ball started lighting up, so therefore there must be a ghost here. But that's what people believe, and people don't want to hear us anymore. I found You know, I was just having a conversation, Chris, with your cousin. I was over his house a few weeks ago, and I looked at him and I said, John, the problem today is nobody wants to put in the 40 to 50 years anymore to gain the knowledge and experience that we have. They just
I didn't want to put in that many years.
Well, yeah, you know, who knew when I was out of high school, 18 years old, I'd be sitting here on a call with you nice folks.
And the problem is too, though,
in this work,
with
this
those,
was a vocation. It's not an occupation.
Yeah. And the quick fix, like Joe says, the toys, as he calls them, the thing with that is too, is people just want to use them and they don't think of like all the external things. Like we had one where he was sending us video after video of cat balls. And then you clearly see like 2 dogs sitting on the bed and he's got the cat balls on the bed. He's like, look, they're going off. I'm like, you still have 2 dogs on the bed that are moving on the bed. And then he had a towel that he said was moving in the bathroom. Well, you also hear a fan going like a jet engine pointed towards the towel, and the towel is going off. So you have to look at everything. You can't just say, okay, that's going off. You got to take everything into account.
And never use cat balls on an actual investigation, please.
What's that?
They're not reliable.
No, I mean, they're just not scientifically proven. I mean, yeah, they get a lot of fun out of it. But you know what? Who's laughing all the way to the bank is the manufacturers of this equipment. Yay, capitalism, right? They're making money hand over fist. Some of these pieces of equipment cost hundreds, thousands of dollars, and people are paying this because they saw some clown on television using it. So, like, I must have one, you know, and that's where they get their training from, watching these TV shows. Some of them are very entertaining, I'll give you that, but they're all BS.
Yeah. Actually, there's one jackass on YouTube. I wish I could remember his name. He makes his own spirit boxes. And he's been caught again and again. What he does is he takes clips of famous people and he manipulates it, maybe plays it backwards, but you hear their voices, so you think he's really communicating with them. He did it with my grandfather first, and then he did it with my grandmother. He did it with Michael Jackson and Prince. And like, it upset me so much because I know my grandparents would never, ever be a part of any kind of spirit communication that would make people want to go out there and communicate. That's insane. You know? So that bugs me a lot.
Nicole's asking you if you want her to name him.
Yeah, if you can remember his name, please.
No, I'm not going to mention any names.
No, look, I tried to
play nice.
I tried to say something on the YouTube videos that he was doing, and to be honest, they all attacked me. That like, who are you?
That's why I don't mention any names because I don't want people attacking me. You know, I mean, Chris, how many people can we call out in this work?
Well, it is
here all night and call out people and give you reasons why we're calling them out. But I'm not like that.
But the reason I want to do this one is because he's charging, I think, $4,000 for these custom-made ghost boxes. I don't want anybody to be paying $4,000 for a broken radio.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't pay that much for an SLS. And even that I sold because I was like, it's not reliable.
No, there are a lot of things
are not
positives with those. They're terrible.
No, they don't work. And the apps on your phone, please don't make me laugh.
Phones don't have that built into them. Come on.
I use my phone for the voice recorder. That's it.
The voice recorder or the flashlight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the flashlight. That's about it.
Or to call for help when I'm scared.
Right. I just got touched. I gotta go.
Yeah. So we're approaching the top of actually an hour and a half, and I know we said that we would cut it there because I know Chris is down south, and I'm not sure the time zone he's in, and Andrea's.
I'm good.
No, I'm really down south though. I'm in Asuncion.
I'm on the same time as you.
What time zone are you in? Because in Colombia you were in the same as me, right?
No, in Colombia I was on Central Time. I was the same as Leila. Now I'm on Eastern again.
Oh, okay. Eastern, so it's 11:25 according to my computer.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could talk about this stuff all day long.
I know. We'll just keep on talking and talking.
We'll definitely have a part 2 and 3 and probably 4.
I can bring you some more people for sure.
We got them.
Some really great people.
anyone you guys want to bring on is welcome, and you guys are welcome to come back as well.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you. You've been
you,
very
anytime.
gracious, Michael.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
And
and
You've been a
thank you for
great
sharing
host.
our website. We do want to help
Yes.
people. That's the whole purpose here.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
and thank you for reminding me, because I wanted to put that up one more time. I put it up earlier,
Yes, I know. Thank you.
and here we go.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
click on the contact us link on there, and then there's a help us button or help button, and that's just fill that out for us. Please give us as much information as you can. I promise you, it will make it much faster being able to help you.
And I put a link towards everything to the Warren Foundation, the Legacy Foundation, in the description. So if you don't want to go to the website and you're on Facebook, their Facebook page is on there. So, or YouTube, if you're on YouTube and you want to go through YouTube, all of everything that's the Warren Legacy Foundation is tagged in the
Warren
description.
Files. That's the channel.
Yes.
Yeah. We would really love to get some more people who are experienced investigators, mediums, even some certified psychiatrists or doctors or nurses would be very helpful to have.
Engineers, lawyers, plumbers,
lawyers,
we want people
researchers,
with
historians.
lots of skills.
Yes.
Bail me out when I get in trouble.
It's like fulfilling a hobby on the side, but having all your gifts being used for a good cause.
There you go.
All volunteers.
Yes, and I just want to give Chris you the opportunity. I know you've said it a lot, but one more time to say, what is the mission statement of the Warren Legacy Foundation?
We're here to educate. We're here to help people who believe that they're being troubled by the paranormal. Regardless of whether it turns out to be paranormal or not, I promise you, we will not desert you, and we will help you to get the help you need. Actually, we call ourselves paranormal social workers. We're there to get you the services you need. We do it free. We do it confidentially. And as far as we're concerned, I don't care how you define your deity. For us, this is God's work. We're not doing it for ourselves. We're not doing it to be rich. I'll be honest with you, I don't even like the paranormal.
That's for sure.
I really hate what I see online. So I want to help people because there's a need. And I have to say that the foundation represents the best. They are great people, and I am proud of every one of them.
Yes, and thank you for coming on. And I wanted to share with you a comical moment I had as we're talking about the shows and how they affect people, the paranormal shows, is I was doing a ghost walk with my co-host when I originally started the show in a haunted town, and she and I were the only paranormal investigators on this ghost walk. And so we're taking a tour, and I saw this house with this really nice courtyard, and my intuition said, take a couple photos. So I took my phone and snapped a couple shots, and this guy walks up to me and goes, "Ooh, what'd you get?" And I like to stop everyone and go, so this is what my brain was wanting me to say. Well, my phone is telling me there's an orb over here, there's a spirit over here, there's a shadow in this. And then what actually comes out of my mouth is, I don't know, I have to put it on a computer. The problem is people see it on TV and think the second you take a photo, you know exactly what you got. And it's like, that's the fallacy of TV.
Yeah.
It's not instant.
Yeah.
And those photos can be manipulated on a computer.
Yeah.
Software and things
Horribly,
like that.
yes.
Yes.
I can't even imagine with AI how bad it's going to get.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's going to
That's a whole nother show.
It's helping me with my grammar, though.
Yeah. There you go.
Actually, I'll be honest. I don't trust any evidence we get if it doesn't come from somebody I know.
Yeah.
I because I can't. It's too easy to fake.
I like Nicole's comment here because
Pareidolia.
Doesn't know how to spell it, and I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia, whatever.
Yeah, I'm like Chris. I'm like, whatever it is.
Whatever. We know what it means.
Or-
For those
or
that don't, it's
matrixing.
basically that. Yeah, it's matrixing. You see a picture, and you're going
Matrixing.
to see what you want to see. Your brain is going to develop and make it into a
Yeah,
picture.
like Chris said, the brain is very powerful, and
Exactly.
you can look at a cloud formation and for 10 minutes, and you'll see SpongeBob.
Yeah.
The truth is, perception is shaped by belief. If you, for instance, there was a wonderful experiment done recently where they took a log and shaped it just a little bit to look like Nessie from Loch Ness. And then they took one identical but smaller and put it in a smaller loch near Loch Ness. So in Loch Ness, maybe 10% of the people saw this and they were like, oh my God, it's Nessie. But they threw it in the other loch. Everybody thought it was just a log. So there is this predisposition for us to fall on our own belief system to explain the unexplainable. And we see this in pareidolia all the time. It happens even in things you hear, not just things you see. Our brains are wired to look for patterns. So you hear, and all of a sudden it's, hi, Chris, how you doing? No, So, we look for those interpretations. That's why, again, I like the Estes method. It gets rid of a little bit of that, where I'll ask a question and then I think I hear an answer. Yeah. Instead, somebody who can't even hear my question is shouting out answers they hear. When that sounds intelligent, then I feel a little bit better about it.
Or when you ask if you hear an EVP, you don't say, did you just hear him say, go kill someone? Because then you're going to know that.
Never tell them what you said.
Well, now you planted the seed.
Exactly, and that's what they're going to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
And what's interesting is that people ask me all the time, what's your goal of your show? They're like, are you doing it to be famous? I said, no, I'm really not. I'm doing it to plant seeds, and someone may be watching the episode tonight, or tomorrow. And then 6 months from now, someone may be like, hey, I need help on something. Come across this episode, or like, hey, I should contact those people. And it's like, that's the goal of my show, is to plant a seed now. And if it grows into something great, that's really cool. And if not, I've learned to, what we call in the metaphysics, not become attached to the outcome, to where if nobody does anything about, any of the information on the show, I still feel like it was a great episode, great information. It was a great everything. I don't judge it by what the audience does with it. I'm like, if I did that, I tell people all the time, you can't judge by views. You can't judge by, comments. You got to judge by the long run.
Yeah. Yep. You can't control what other people do.
Right.
Or
That's
think,
right.
or how they think.
It's a matter of perspective, too. You have no idea if something is good or bad until long afterward. You don't know what seeds you've planted. They could be the most amazing seeds, but you may never know. You may never see it. The ripples are there, even if you don't know they're there.
Right. And to me, that's the greatest gift that I feel like right now I'm giving, is planting the seed to where people are watching this and going, yeah, and maybe become future whatever the foundation needs. Could be started from, watching this episode and going, hey, maybe that's something I could get into, or hey, that explains what's happening with me.
Yeah.
Just keep your mind open to the possibilities. Is it possible? When I speak to an audience, I just ask people to keep an open mind. I said, because how are we all possible? How did we get there? How is it possible that I'm standing before you? Just have an open mind about, is it possible, regardless of what you believe or not. Obviously they believe in something, they wouldn't be sitting there. Unless they had nothing better to do that night. Probably most of the audience.
In which case, now they do.
There you go.
They may be sitting there going, God, I got nothing to do this weekend. Oh, hey, maybe I should go do a paranormal investigation, see what that's like. I'm not saying Chris, not saying by themselves. I'm meaning
Chris is like,
Leila when she was
I'm about to jump out the window, for God's sake. Like, here's your scalpel. Go have fun.
Well, I watched ER. I think I'm qualified. I can do a trick.
Well, no. Hey, look, you can give George Clooney a run for his money, but I'm not sure I want you operating.
Oh, gosh. Don't get me started. We don't have any more time.
Thanks, Michael, for having us. It's been
Thank you
great.
so much.
And we will do this again.
Thank
yes,
you,
I
Mike.
look forward to
God
it.
bless you.
Thank you. And thank
Thanks,
you to
everyone.
Nicole. And interestingly enough, I'm thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, but I'm actually going to be on your show soon. So that'll be fun. And, we'll see if everybody here will come in the chat room and, talk to us there and hang out. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And thank you to everyone in the chat room. Thank you to everyone who's watching it tonight and watching it whenever, because replays, I love the replays. And so wherever you are in the world, and I love how I can say that because with Chris being down south. So enjoy your day, fill it with love and light, and just give yourself the space to grow. Don't limit yourself by what other people think you should be doing or where you should be at in your life. Just follow yourself, follow your heart, follow what resonates with you, and do what brings you joy.
To thine own self be true.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Fact. True.
And as you do unto the least of your brothers, so you do unto me. Just remember that simple rule, please. Be kind to one another.
Yes. It's all about love, baby.
Yes.
Amen.
It'd be a much better world if we took that advice.
Yes,
If
and
everyone took that advice.
Nicole, I think Leila and I are laughing at you right now, saying
I was thinking the same thing.
not here in California.
Oh, we had
Yeah.
humidity with that heat, so it was 117. Feels like.
That's how we were. We had our hottest day. Was it yesterday?
I always
Yeah.
find that funny with the temperatures. They tell you like, oh, your high is 101, and then they go underneath. It feels like 118. I'm like, why don't you just tell us 118?
Exactly.
There.
When you walk out the
I don't
door.
know, like, it's 57 degrees here. I'm freezing.
Stop.
I know,
Stop it, Chris.
He likes to throw it in our faces.
Yeah, he went to winter. We're still in summer.
I know.
I'm moving.
Yeah, but wait a minute.
I'm moving.
I will be at 125 in 2 months. So
Oh,
So
yeah.
Florida, we have
Mhm.
Florida on here. They're pretty humid too. Someone from
Yeah.
Florida.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
Nicole. You've been very great.
Thank you,
Good
everyone
night.
that was watching. We appreciate it.
thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Have a
Love
good
you
night.
guys.
Bless everybody. Take
Bye.
care.
Yeah.
Talk
Bye.
to you soon.
Enough of the Irish goodbye. We're actually going to do it this time.
That is exactly like my grandmother. 45 minutes.
All right. Good
Good.
night,
All
everyone.
right. Thank you guys.
Night.
night, all.
Bye.